The sound of Lagos.
Knowledge is power. Information is key. And that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I trust we had a blissful and restful night and, hoping for a much more productive and beautiful day ahead. All right, this is the part where we look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers. And we have our papers we have with us: Vanguard, The Punch, The Guardian newspaper, in no particular order. We'll be looking through the major headlines on the front pages of these papers until 8:30. By 8:30, we take a short commercial break, and we're back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus. And that's the part where you, our dear listener, you get to be part of the conversation. My name is Omobola Sandra, and Fuhad Sahid will join the conversation virtually to give analysis, in-depth analysis to the stories that we're going to be looking through this morning. It promises to be an amazing run. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, so you can join the program live on both platforms and drop your submissions even as the show progresses. And by the time we move on to Mainland Focus, we'll be able to take all of these submissions. All right, let's get into the story because we have quite a number of stories that we need to dig deeper into this morning. So good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. Good. How are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I just feel a type of way. I just feel like, just waking up and just when you remember that, I'm a Nigerian and I'm living in Nigeria and there's just so much to talk about. And a lot of our leaders are majoring on minor at this crucial time where we are supposed to, yes, at this crucial time. And then also another thing that I think we have not put emphasis or highlight on was the recent speech from NY, the World Trade Organization DG Ngozi Okonjo, yes, at the NBA conference, and I was listening to it again, last night, and it just says a whole lot, very profound, especially the statement from her as regards weaponizing insecurity. So it's
very unfortunate. Really. I think the eyes of what has been said to be a weaponization of insecurity, especially amongst the political class. Started all the way from Jonathan era. They've been talked about the possibility of, at that time, the opposition also coming up with some of these issues, of course, to demonize the regime at that time. Even though there have also been conversation as to the fact that, look, that regime failed quite to deal with some of the issues that came up at that time. The response was poor, the concentration was bad, the focus was lacking, but again, we've gotten to the point where we need to continue to talk about this thing. Has it become a political tool? How can insecurity suddenly become a political gimmick, really, where people are losing their lives, people are daily kidnapped? But again, with our politicians, there's nothing impossible, really, and that's what Dr. Ngozi Okonjo say, that look, this period of weaponizing insecurity has to stop. It's not doing us any good. It's killing the country, killing the economy, and then, of course, stealing the results of the nation to become functional again. Very unfortunate.
Very, very unfortunate, especially with all the news coming from the northern region as regards insecurity and the ripple effect it is having on even our economy, what it's having on, food security as well.
Global outlook too, even the global outlook for Nigeria.
Exactly.
Kind of situations where almost on a daily basis you have reported cases of kidnapping, killings, and expect any
for a country that is desperate for foreign
direct investment. And then you have all of that coming up every time in your report. It's going to be a turn off, really. No serious investor would want to make you the first choice when it comes to putting their money into business. But again, we have all it takes really to change this narrative. We just need the political will to do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Let's get into the story for today, shall we? We have our papers here. Time check right now is 7:46 a.m. It's time for us to dig deep into the papers. We'll kick things off with the Punch newspaper and the major headline on the front page of the Punch. Flights of fancy. Governors slammed for wasting 160 billion naira on unviable airports. Well, I know we're focusing on the report here, but I just feel like there's a lot of unviable things that we do in this country.
Of course, yes. But this is the issue of airports. Yeah,
airports. We talked about this, I think, recently. I don't know if it was Zamfara. There was a state in
Zamfara,
yes.
Zamfara, yeah.
We talked about this very recently as regards, they were
and this is a well-detailed report, Sandra. Very detailed. Fantastic report. Well-detailed.
From the Punch newspaper.
Fantastic report.
Now, 6 state governments are the ones under the searchlight here now. 6 state governments, that's Ekiti, Ebonyi, Jigawa, Yobe, Nasarawa, and Bayelsa, have reportedly spent about 160 billion naira on airport projects that opposition politicians and aviation professionals have classified as unviable. And they say that huge public funds expended on facilities have amounted to waste. There's condemnation, and they're asking Nigerians to hold these governors, accountable or responsible for this waste. Some industry players have advised that the facilities should be converted, into skill acquisition centers for the benefit of so that it's not just waste. We cannot just build something and it's just line fallow. Exactly. We've talked severally about white elephant projects. We've talked severally about some projects that abandoned projects. Yes, we've talked about misplaced priorities as regards funding and all of that. So what we have now in this report is that 6 states have spent over 160 billion on various airports projects. The facility now and they've not been able to attract any number of aircraft for charter or even for commercial purposes. And the unfortunate truth is that, according to this report, aside from the Murtala Mohammed Airport, MMA here in Lagos, Nnamdi Azikiwe in Abuja, Port Harcourt International Airport, that generates 80% of the revenue of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, other airports have been deemed a financial burden to fund. So, but despite this, all of these challenges and all of that, more states are still coming up with, construction of more airports, designating them as cargo airports. Case in point, the recent one in Zamfara State. All right. And in the last decade, no fewer than 10 state governments have commenced such projects: Osun, Ebonyi, Ogun, Benue, Zamfara, Nasarawa, Abia, Ekiti, and Bayelsa. And most of these projects were never completed. Others were abandoned by their successors. All right. And it's just a whole lot. You have Wachakal Airport in Damaturu, that's in Yobe State. Dutse International Airport in Jigawa. You have Ekiti Cargo Airport, Anambra Cargo Airport, MK Abiola Airport in Osun State, Ogun Cargo Airport. Others are Lafia Airport in Nasarawa, which is uncompleted. Kebbi Airport, Auchi in Edo, uncompleted. Zamfara Airport, Gombe. So it's just really, really unfortunate. The amount we spend so much money in all of these things. In 2017, for example, Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State commenced a move to build an airport. 6 years later, the governor renewed his zeal for the project, but then Anambra at this time now is surrounded by airports already. Delta, Imo, Enugu surround Anambra State, and there are airports there. So a lot of people have believed that, what exactly was the governor of Anambra State thinking when he was embarking on that particular project. And that's what we're looking at this morning, although we focus on, 6 major states putting collectively together spent 160 billion naira on airports. Whether or not, this airport, what exactly has this airport brought to the state? What exactly is the value, the worth, or the purpose that which these airports were even, constructed, or what was going on in the mind of these people, especially in a country where we struggle with continuity, where, we have always said that government is supposed to be a continuum, but is that really the case in Nigeria? So Fuhad, your thoughts, very quickly as regards all this huge amount of money that we are spending on airports that we probably do not need.
Well, again, the report has captured it all. Of course, speaking with experts who have said that, look, these are just white elephant projects, wasteful projects, or unnecessary projects, misplaced priority completely. We've discussed some of these airport projects. I think I remember when I was serving in Taraba State, same thing came up. In Taraba State, that had completely poor infrastructure, no road network.
Taraba doesn't have roads, wants to build airports.
Look, yes, I think Reverend Jolly Yame at that time started an airport project for Taraba State. The same thing is being said of Zamfara State now. That's a bandit invested state. And then you have the governor also thinking of building an airport. Even in Ogun State, I'm sure the people of Ogun would prefer that, look, the governor pays attention to their roads, their state roads, the local roads, that wanting to build a cargo airport for them. They've done it and nothing is happening in those airports. And that's what the report is saying. Aircraft are not coming in, nobody's using them. And billions of naira have gone into those projects. If you check some of these states, these are states that public schools have no facility. Some of their students are sitting under the tree. And the governor in their very myopic and corrupt mind thinks that what the state needs is to go and build an airport. Look at Anambra State, for example, like this. Several other airports exist around. And yet the governor wanted to build an airport that nobody's going to use. So again, these are some of the things we say about leadership. It's at the subnational level, where there's a lot of misplaced priority, wrongful spending, wasteful spending, white elephant, and the reality is that, look, there's a reason for going into this project in the first place. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Now, chop at the end of the day, project. Even the report captures it that the cost of construction of these projects inflated ridiculous figures. You check what is on ground to what has been budgeted, you know that something has happened. So okay, it's just what it is, really, Sandra. It's across states. It's not just 6 states.
It's not just 6 states. Yeah, no, but speaking as regards the 160 billion is, collected for those 6 states. But still billions and billions of naira in other states as well. Everyone just wants to have an airport. I'm wondering why.
To do what precisely?
I don't know.
In states where there are no schools, there are no roads.
Healthcare.
You understand? The healthcare is poor.
Well,
I was at the general hospital somewhere in Ogun State, Sandra. They are still using candles. There was no public part, nothing.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry that I started.
It's okay. It's okay. This is okay. We are working on it.
It's okay.
Well,
you see what they tell you. All these are bad.
Maybe they just feel like a lot is happening on the road, so it's safer for people to fly to wherever it is that you're going to. But I have here the General Secretary of the Aviation Safety Roundtable, which is a group of industry professionals, Olumide Oduayo, criticized the scale of some airport projects, arguing that while building airports is essential, the funds allocated and the size of these developments are often disproportionate to the immediate needs. Fuhad, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if it was River State or Cross River, one of these states, where the locals in the communities surrounding the airport came forward and said, see, there's no point having this airport here because it's not bringing anything to the community. It's not bringing any development. It's just here occupying space, and we need the space for other things. So what's the point? There was the women in the community came forward, some sort of protest, some sort of public awareness that there's no point having this particular airport in this particular community. I'm going to search that out. But then Ohio went further to note that the tendency in Nigeria to start airport projects on a large scale without sufficient flight operations to justify the investment. He emphasized that airports typically start with social infrastructure rather than profit-making ventures. All right? It is when it begins to develop that they now think about commercializing and maybe giving it to private investors. So what is this whole thing with people just sitting down and say, let's do this thing, and then they now start thinking on how to run it as after you have commenced the construction, basically. So that's the report.
Well, I think the conclusion is that these airports are built without any thinking really, or beyond maybe corruption really. It's just all the corruption tendencies are written all over these kinds of projects in some of these states. I'm actually putting something together on development communication standard, and incidentally, my assignment on development communication is on something like this. Focus on misplaced projects, misplaced priorities, where communities are saying that, look, why do we have this project? Where states are saying, this is not the project we want. There are other things you could have spent this money on. And that's exactly what I'm actually putting together as more like a term paper. But the reality is, these governors know what they are doing. It's easy to steal money with these kinds of projects. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, Nasarawa, Yobe, and others have begged the federal government to take over. I don't know why Yobe is having an airport, but it's fine. Let's not Kiri. And others have called on the federal government to take over the airports shunned by airlines. The story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Flights of fancy. That's the story. Major headline on the front page of the Punch.
The flights are not even coming. You should see the flight before anything fancy will come out.
That's not even the
flights are not even coming.
But the point is, who's fancy exactly?
The fancy of the governors, basically, and the bourgeoisies of the different states.
The fancy
elitist class.
Better be.
Yes.
Moving on now, we also have here AMCON set to sell Ibadan Disco. That's on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. We can dig deeper into that as well. We also have here, IG vows to rescue over 2,000 kidnapped victims.
That would be a good one. You should not just make the headline with that statement. You should do it. They rescue the 20 medical students, and that's what he's saying.
Yes.
He talked about the success of the operation, how the students were rescued, and we give him kudos for quickly doing that. But there are, according to the report, from available data, over 2,000 Nigerians are still in kidnappers there. The IG should live up to his statement of being a tiger, feeling like a tiger and a lion, to go after these criminals and get Nigerians out of those there, the kidnappers there. He has to do it. We're going to celebrate him if he's able to do that and stop further kidnapping. Sandra, it's not just to rescue those that have been kidnapped, it has to stop too. Nip it in the bud. If you look at the Vanguard newspaper, I think one of the major headlines is talking about the Southeast too. We've been talking about the North, but Vanguard is saying that in the Southeast too, it's almost like a daily occurrence. There's no a week that passes without a kidnap situation in the whole of the Southeast.
I think it's
one state will record something.
I think insecurity basically in Nigeria is really underreported if we're going to look at it, holistically. That's the major headline on the front page of Vanguard. But before we get into that, just as Fuad has said, I think it's time that IGP Kayode Egbetokun lives up to his self-appraisal or self-claim to be a tiger. We're expecting that.
That he felt like a tiger. And now he has a guaranteed 4 years, Sandra. So that should be enough motivation, for him to really do his job. Secure Nigerians from these criminal elements. Do his job. That's what we are saying. And we are going to celebrate him he's able to do that.
Most definitely. All right, moving on, we also have here on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Lagos is to conduct the Red Line Rail test run today. And that is on page 6. Yes. And that's on page 6 of the Punch newspaper.
A good one for the state, Sandra. A good one, the blue line, you'll get it. You get it. Sorry. But the red line is to be, the test run. I thought that the test run had started, but that's what the report say. That the test run will start today. A lot of infrastructural work that Lagos still needs to be that functional mega city that we all dream to have. As a Lagosian, I understand, I know the potentials that Lagos carries and what it can be in functional mega amongst functional mega cities of the world. I've always said it that Lagos can effectively compete with the Dubai and even surpass it in terms of functionality. The resources are there, to do it. It's just the willingness to do the right thing that we're still asking for. Lagos has got the potential, to compete with any mega city of the world. It's not just about the numbers now, about quality infrastructure, improved living standards for the people of Lagos City. It's the leadership that should just wake up to their responsibility and do more for Lagosians. So basically, we congratulate the Lagos State government for doing this, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. A whole lot. It's just like somebody that has the ability to fly, that is still calling. State can fly, we are still calling. I'm telling you, Sandra.
Thank you very much. The story is on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. Well, this is something that we look forward to, and we're hoping that, the much needed growth that it will
much
bring.
more would happen, yeah. Again, Sandra, one of the things that you see in functional mega cities is what you call an efficient intermodal transport system. Everything has to run. Apart from, again, look at the chaotic bus rapid transit system we have in Lagos. That's why I say that we have the ability to fly, we are still crawling. There's no reason why we are not running an efficient bus rapid transit system. But look at the BRT system we are running. The managers are so inefficient, they don't know what they are doing. I'm telling you.
That's another thing that we also need to talk about. I don't know if you followed the story last week.
Yes.
I think it was last week Friday, between Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think about 5 BRT accidents in different parts of Lagos. And that's another thing that a lot of people have been trying to call the attention of the managers of these buses, whether it's the drivers, whether it is the condition of the buses, or whoever it is that's responsible for whatever it is that is going on. Something should be done.
If we're talking about the driver, but look at physically these buses. It's obvious that they are not well maintained.
No.
These are buses that came in with air conditioners. I think there was a point where you could use Wi-Fi. Everything is gone.
Not all of them. There are some that don't have air condition. Yes. Why? Have you entered?
They came in without air condition. No, as in when they came in newly, the buses.
Yes.
They didn't come. Some of them didn't come with air condition.
Some of them.
A brand new bus. Unless they bought Tʀᴇɪᴅs. Even Tʀᴇɪᴅs has air condition. But I knew that quite a number of the buses at that time came with air condition. You had free Wi-Fi, but a lot of them are packed, almost like existing as a scrap. So and you get to be the bus stations, the queues are too long, the buses are not coming on time. I think that, look, with the potential that we have to run a bus rapid transit system, we are not doing enough. I think there's a problem with the management for the people running the BRT system in Lagos. It should be more efficient. And that's the thing you see with a functional mega city. Fast-paced movement. Everybody is on the move. And every transportation system working at the same time, concurrently, without any hindrances. And you can actually time yourself. You understand? We don't have a tram system, for example, and there's no reason why we should not have a tram transport system. If the tram is even very easy to fix, Sandra. We're not even talking about the ferry service. As we speak, we are not even running a proper and efficient ferry service in Lagos. That should also be happening. The metro system, the train system, the Blue Rail is still not running to full capacity. I think it's still from Mile 2 to CMS. It was supposed to get to Okoko. That is still there. The Red Rail, I don't know how far we've gone. We'll look at the test run today and see what we've been able to. I'm saying that, look, these are things that should happen naturally for a state like Lagos, with all of the resources that is available to us. The intermodal transport system should be something that we are able to fix easily. And that's what you get from being a functional mega city, not just a mega city. The population is what makes you a mega city. The quality of infrastructure is what makes you functional and celebrated as a mega city.
Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Time check right now is 4 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We also have that story, by the way, it's on page 6. We also have here, just above the masthead of the Punch, Lagos Calabar Highway demolition. 100 landowners team up for fresh legal war. And that is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. That's a continuation as regards, the story that we started.
Very interesting story, really. The plight of property owners. Who, I think last week we were talking about compensation, if you remember. And it was sad to know that some of the people whose property was demolished,
1.3 million.
Around it, we got 1.3 million naira. The man said, look, this is what I mean.
For hundreds of millions.
The man said, this is what I make every day. I can make this one day.
Yes, now it's leisure parks.
Even though, he has a leisure park, and he said, look, how do you demolish a property on this highway worth hundreds of millions, and the only thing I'm getting is 1.3 million naira? And during the show, I said that, yes, the law talks about compensation, which is clearly discretionary. And Barrister Abiodun Barake, of course, reached out to me after the show to explain some of the other issues around what the law says when it comes to compensation, the different school of thought, and that look, for those who are going to be going to court on the issue of compensation, it would be nice to test our law to see what is going to come out of it. But on this particular story, Sandra, it's on the issue of the right of way. About some people in the 𝴂ᴜᴜnᴜ area who are saying that, look, when they bought their property and documents were issued to them, it was clearly stated that, look, they had avoided the right of way, because the project is not a new project, really, Sandra. It has always been there in the development plan of the country. So that the right of way for the project has always existed, and they stayed away from it. You understand? Getting valid documents from the Lagos State government that show that, look, you guys have respected the development plan, you are not on the right of way. Only for this new project to come up now, and the old right of way has now been abandoned, to now come and affect their own property. They have thought that, look, they were not on the right of way. And what they are alleging is that, look, this was done to favor some big guys who are developers who are built on the right of way. They are alleging, that's the allegation, and that's why they are going to court. But Sandra, how would you fault this allegation, where even the entire road project was done in secrecy, there was no due process, the procurement process was faulty and questionable? You can't blame these guys for raising this allegation. You bought a property thinking that, when they told us this is the right of way, we stayed away from it. What are valid documents? Only for the project to start, you are now being told that, no, that right of way, the road is not going there again, it's coming to where your property is. Sandra. How fair is that? That's what these property owners are saying. And they are saying that there are even more developments here now than even the original right of way. So, again, these are some of the things we say about due diligence, about due process, about, transparency, accountability. When you do things anyhow, you put people through unnecessary pain and suffering. And it's nice to see what you guys are going to get out of the court.
I really, really hope that, they get some sort of respite, in all of this, just as you have highlighted the many struggles that they have gone through. Because just as
build their property, buy property, build it, get valid documents, only for you to come up with a project and then you are now changing the whole thing.
Yes, that's really painful.
We like to do things anyhow. That's why the Chinese people are teaching us some form of hard lesson. We like to do. You see what the Chinese people are doing to us. Because we will never follow due process. We will never follow procedure. We just like to do things anyhow. They were asking the minister, do you have EIA report? He said he doesn't understand English.
Doesn't understand English. It's all right. Well, hopefully you now understand English now that there's... But,
when it gets to court.
No, but even at that for hard. Remember that, someone was saying that, these Chinese people, they just wanted to frustrate us. They just went straight to the international court. And we need to know. I think it's important we need to know.
They started from here.
They went from state court to federal court and nothing happened.
They saw that you guys are wasting our time. And GT Ogunye is saying the same thing. The lawyer of these Lekki property owners. You read what GT Ogunye is saying. That look, the court processes on this matter have been frustrating. That's what he's saying. That the court processes have been very frustrating. They can't file, they can't do anything. It's taking longer than normal. That's what GTO is saying. That was why I'm sure the Chinese left Nigeria. That you people, you waste our time, and they decided to approach, a foreign court, and basically those ones are saying, go after their property.
Well, there's a lot to unpack from this particular report. You can get more details of that on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. 100 landowners team up for fresh legal war, and it's as regards, documentation, right-of-way conversation, because what they are claiming now is that...
You see what happened to the telecoms people too, Sandra?
Oh, yes.
Where the telecoms people are saying that, look, all our cables are on some of these places, so they are now shifting, pending it.
I think that was why they had to change the course. They had to reroute some of these
Sandra,
things.
A proper EIA report would have revealed all these things.
Exactly.
All these things.
And that was the importance of that question.
So if the project started without them knowing where the cables are passed, it shows that there was no EIA. They just wanted to do things anyhow. It was later that people now called their attention. If they go on, you got cable there. They started bending, shifting, moving the goalposts. You can't do things this way, Sandra. Forget about all these sentiments that people throw up about the project, blah, blah. The reality is that, look, we are a country governed by law, and we must follow due process in everything we do. Look at even the procurement process, Sandra. Very embarrassing. So, because we must do a project, according to violate our laws.
Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Their claim now is that they follow due process in acquiring their lands, but they were well informed about the right of way. It was clearly marked, it was beaconed, and everything was clearly. They stayed away from it only for it's all right. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Punch, very, very quickly now, we also have here Abure and Oti on collision course over Labour Party NWC tenure. That is another really interesting story. It's on page 7, and I'm not going to dig too deep into today's Wednesday, thankfully. So exactly, today's Wednesday, thankfully. So by 1 p.m., stay tuned for political conversations on midweek politics right here on this same dial. The story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Moving further, we also have here external auditors examine NNPC's 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim, and that is on page 30. No, page 20 rather. It's on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. So, very quickly, the federal government has finally initiated plans to enlist the services of an external auditor to verify the 2.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy claim by NNPCL against the federal government. And the auditor, we don't know the name, we don't know if it's a person, we don't know if it's a firm, we don't know if they are in.
That's really a firm. That's a person. Really a firm.
Jim Obaz is not Imam.
Yeah, but that was just to investigate now.
Oh,
and he had a group of people working.
Oh, join. Oh, join. But so there's no name, anyways. We don't know, the name of the auditor.
Who's taking the job?
Yes, who's taking the job? But then the auditor is to assist the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation in determining the real amount that the federal government owes NNPCL. All right. Let's not forget that sometime in April, the NNPC claims that there's an outstanding 6 trillion naira, but it was reduced to 2.7 after an additional. There was an initial audit by KPMG, and after that, the money it's just a lot back and forth. Anyway, let's
audit them. Whatever comes out of you, we'll talk about.
So that story is on page
20. Really. Are you not tired?
I've moved on. Honestly, I've moved on. I've moved on.
Some oil companies in different parts of the world are declaring profit, declaring huge money as profit for their own country. Here we are auditing debt. Beg.
To be audited. Because why are we getting their financial report? 6 months after the end of the year. But it's fine. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. You're listening to Trends in the Papers, and we're looking through the major story trending on the front pages of papers. Moving on now to the Guardian newspaper, the major headline there, $48 per barrel production cost drowns 60% of Nigeria's oil earnings. That's the major headline on the front page of the Guardian. The story itself is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Thank you very much. All right, I was trying to trying to squeeze out the story here. Nigeria's $10 per barrel production cost target is an aspiration undermined by insecurity, inefficiency, logistics, overhead costs, corruption, and regulatory challenges. Look at that.
That's another promise of military. That's another promise. It was going to drop. It was going to problem. It was going to drop the production cost per barrel to $10. He promised it. But look at the things they listed as why we are now doing about $48 point something to produce 1 barrel of crude oil. But take your story, man.
Maybe he's still fighting the war.
Multidimensional wala.
Maybe that's why he's fighting the war. Maybe that's why the war is on. The war against.
Second highest in the world, Sandra.
Oil production.
Second highest. Yes, the cost of production.
The cost of oil production per barrel, which NNPC vowed 3 years ago to reduce to $10, has soared above expectations to $48, as the country is spending about $11.4 billion on operating costs in the first half of 2024. So while all the operators in the country made about $19.5 billion in the first half, just all the challenges, all the factors that we listed, before now: rising corruption, inefficiency, logistics, overhead, dual regulatory challenges, widening project cycle, high cost of funds have pushed production cost to revenue ratio 58 to 46%. Yes. That's what we are looking at now.
Yes. That's production to revenue ratio.
Yes.
So that means you are doing about 60% as production cost.
As it is now,
against your revenue.
Fuad, instead of achieving a reduction, the cost has now put Nigeria to one of the highest in the world. That's what we have now. Yes. The chairman of the House of Reps Committee on Finance, James Faleke, said that the $48 per barrel production cost in Nigeria is the highest in the world. Even though FIRS chairman Zak Adedeji told lawmakers that oil companies operating in Nigeria gave tax authorities $48.7 as their average cost of producing crude oil per barrel. But then stakeholders are projecting that the cost should hover around 35, and there's worry the tax body is dealing with operators that are based on a higher figure. Libya is a highly attractive oil producer due to extremely low production, because they are producing as low as $1 per barrel. Angola's cost of production is $20 per barrel. Okay, and in Brazil, improved well productivity has reduced their break-even cost for pre-salt fields from 70 to 35. Saudi Arabia is between $2 to $8 per barrel. But here,
$2 to $8.
That's Saudi Arabia. Look at that. And here in Nigeria, we're talking about $48 per barrel. This implies that 60% of the money, our money, has gone into production. Just to produce oil that will still be stolen and not know where it is.
I'm not even producing enough.
We're still doing 1.3. So it's really expensive. It's ridiculously expensive for it. What do you think?
Of course, that's what the story is saying. If the NNPC had promised 3 years ago to work towards $10 per barrel, and they are doing $48 now, we need a clean-up, a total clean-up. We need to clean the house, Sandra. It's an extremely dirty, polluted, corrupt, inefficient system. That's what we are running. Again, if you look at what the FIRS boss is saying, that some of these it's a 60%, 50 to 40% arrangement. They come up with some of these, because again, you now need to check what are the things that are lumped up into this production cost. And I'm sure that if you do a proper forensic analysis, you understand that, look, there's a lot of corruption going on for us to be arriving at this figure. You understand? If you're doing about 60% of production cost to revenue, it's a waste of money. And the issue of crude oil theft, oil production, you have all manner of ridiculous JVs that you have for forward sale of your cost. That's why we're not making anything.
There's also regulator problems.
That's also an issue. So if you aggregate all of these things, put it together, you understand why we seem to be on a lamentation spree when it comes to the oil sector, whereas other countries are using proceeds of their oil to do a lot of things. What Angola is doing quite with their oil revenue, they've been able to sort out some reasonable debt from the Chinese we are owing. infrastructure has improved, their currency is firming up. But what do we get here? They are having us, we are auditing debt, we are doing things to owe me, you know, owe me, subsidy day, no day, under recovery. That's what we get every day from these God-given resources. When are we going to get out of this nonsense?
I also find it really interesting for those who would also like to dig deeper into this particular story. You can get it on in Business Day newspaper as well.
Report.
It's a very, very interesting one. Although, you know, it's not a recent one, but
it's in February,
it was sometime in February. But it's something that, you know, can also allude to what the Guardian is trying to report here, because the Business Day reports it as the fact that it's cheaper to produce crude oil in war-torn countries like Iraq and Saudi Arabia, Iran, than in Nigeria, that is Africa's biggest oil producer. As it is now, Nigeria is the second most expensive place to extract black gold after the United States shale oil patch. As the country's oil and gas sector, which has generated a significant chunk, is teetering and is in desperate need of rescue. Who would come to the rescue of the oil and gas sector? What? When the Minister of Petroleum is the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the country. So,
it stops at his desk. Sandra, we don't need to deceive ourselves. It's the president that should do the needful. People have been asking questions. What is his policy plan? What does he want to achieve with the oil sector? What is he driving at? What does he want to do really? The issue of our refineries are still pending. The issue of crude oil production is still pending. Crude oil supply to existing refineries at Naira still has a committee working on that. What is his development agenda, his policy direction for the oil sector? These are questions people have been asking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No answer there, Sandra.
Taxing the difference between selling price and cost of production. What oil companies will give a taxman is, as cost of production is different from the cost of production NNPC will have, according to Zak Adediji, when he was giving it.
So they manage figures for the taxman.
Exactly.
The doctor figures. The doctor thing.
Look at that. Well, there's a significant impact on security, as in terms of oil production, of course, but then there are other factors that needs to, be monitored as well.
In that production cost, if you see what they will tell you they are putting on security alone, you will shake. What if they if we decide to look at that $48 per barrel, and we break it into pieces, because again we're talking about production cost. Part of it would have to be what we pay for security, blah blah blah, logistics. I'm sure that security alone, if you see what they've lumped into it, you understand why we're saying that this is not something that should continue to go on.
Well, the truth of the matter is high production costs will translate to lower profit margins. That's just basically it. So you can get more details of that particular story, which is the major headline on the front page of the Guardian. You can get more details of it on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on very quickly now, there's still a whole lot to extract from that particular report. So you may have to dig deep into it yourself.
There's the papers and read it up.
Also on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, 900 days on, CDHR tax Sanwo-Olu on justice for late Bamishe. This is a long time coming, and I'm really glad and grateful.
The papers have brought it up again for the Guardian newspaper.
Because a lot of people have probably felt that it's been swept under the carpet, so let's just move on, like many other stories like it, in the past. But after a 900-day wait, the Committee for Defense of Human Rights, CDHR, has reminded the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, that 22-year-old Bamishe Ayonwola has yet to get justice. Let's not forget very quickly, the young lady who, she shared videos with her friend while she was in the BRT bus.
Audio.
Yes. No, there were videos.
There were also videos.
There were videos where she was videoing and said, I'm the only one in the bus, and all of that.
This bus,
yes, look at this to see you. This was happening and all of that. And this happened sometime in 2022. She went missing while returning to Songo from Ajah on Saturday, February 26th. Boarded the BRT bus that was supposed to get to Oshodi from Chevron bus stop. And what we have is that a police officer, Sunday Ihende, in December 2020, insists that Andrew Ominikoro, a BRT bus driver, sexually assaulted and caused her death. Yes, of this young girl. And case has been in court since March 2022. TDHR has been monitoring the case and has on many occasions been present in court, but it's so sad that the case has continually suffered a series of unnecessary adjournments. Yes, to date.
And if you look at the report, similar cases have all been dispensed with in other states. It talked about the student that was killed in one hotel in Ife.
Yeah.
That one has been sorted out. They also talked about the lawyer that was shot in Ajah by a police officer. Judgment has come on that. Why is Bamishe's case taking forever? That's what the CDHR is saying. Why is that case taking forever? And it's even more ridiculous because it happened in a government board. That's why it is even more ridiculous. And that's why the CDHR is asking the governor, what's going on with this case?
There's a lot of questions around this, quite a lot of questions around this actually, and it's really, really unfortunate. Those other cases that Fuad mentioned, they are cases that happened way after, Bamishe's situation, and they have all been resolved and put to bed. But here we are now. There's nothing much to take away. Authorities should confirm, even if the murder suspect is he still in prison, is he still in custody. Let not be another Anjawala. I went to pray and did not see him again.
And he disappeared.
And disappeared.
You can't blame the CDHR for asking that question.
Yes.
And what they say, just look, the young lady is dead. The best you can do to honor her memory is to give her justice. Let this case be dispensed with. And justice delayed is justice denied. Not even the justice we are giving to her. We failed her to even start with. We already failed her to start with Sandra because she lost her life. We failed her parents, our friends, and our family members. We've already failed them as a people. So the little that we can do is to ensure she gets justice. That we are not doing. And that's why the CDHR is worried. And we have to commend the CDHR for following up with the case. Because again, we have too many things to deal with in Nigeria, we forget some of these things. But very good one from the CDHR for bringing up Bamishe. Saka, Saka is also on the case.
Yes.
He's always asking questions. What has happened to Bamishe's case? What is happening to Bamishe's case? When will be resolved? When are we going to get judgment?
Well, we don't have so much time, but we still have quite a lot of stories to still look at this morning on Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. The more details of this story on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. I think we also need to keep talking about it and keep bringing attention to that particular situation. A very unfortunate one. She did all she could. She ensured that she carried her friends along.
She saw that coming, Sandra.
She saw it coming.
That's
just a terrible way to go. I'm alone in this bus. There's no light in the bus.
Something is wrong,
Something is wrong. Yes. Well, moving on from that very one, unfortunately, we also have here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper more bad news. Telephone service quality may drop as telcos are still considering load shedding, and that's on page 16.
I hope they have not even started this. And you know that this is terrible.
Has been doing shaky.
Because even the one of the telecom operators that used to be very stable and efficient and reliable, you know the shake. Sandra, can't be mentioning names now.
It's okay. Right.
I don't know.
You don't know. It's alright. It's okay.
You still don't shake anyhow. They are not. So and I hope they have not started the low shake. Something do just a roll, not anything.
Thank you, Fuad. Our story is on page 16. Let's also look at this marginalization, good governance, or additional 18 states. A very, very wonderful story analysis, news analysis rather, on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. You may want to dig deep into that as well. I also have here food insecurity. Federal government banks on dry season farming as flood devastates northeast. I wish them all the best on that one. The story is on page 6.
Dry season farming without irrigation, without the infrastructure to do it. Right?
You do mechanized farming.
Organized. Maybe are seeing farmers up and down.
All right. Well, that's all we can take from the front page of the Guardian newspaper. There's still quite a whole lot to look at on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. But of course, in our other shows, not to worry, we'll definitely be digging deeper into them. Moving on now to Vanguard. The major headline on the front page of Vanguard, agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. And we have here, tale of horror from Lopanta Umunochi area. Lilu Osumogu exists in Ihiala, now called Sambisa of the southeast. Gun battles rage almost daily in Okigwe. All bunkerers trigger insecurity in Oguta area. Gunmen launch attacks from forest in Osu, Oguta, Awo Mama. Horror tales from kidnappers' den has ignited fear in citizens. Our experiences from residents were tackling kidnapping, says state government and others. That's the unfortunate and tragic story on the front page of page.
Your police has a lot of work to do, a lot to do, really, a lot to do, a lot on his desk we need to fill. And I think the governor also has to step up. These guys also collect security votes. They need to also step up, do more deployment, work with communities. You know, the security vote is not for them to just be doing anyhow with it. Just, again, work with communities, community leaders, the youth of the security. The governors also have a lot of work, especially in the southeast region and other parts of the country.
Thank you very much. That's the major headline on the front page of Vanguard. You can get more details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. At this point now, we'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we move on to Mainland Focus. And that's the part where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. So don't touch the dial. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.